The Great Rift Valley of East Africa has had a 5 magnitude earthquake today. This is days after the earthquakes in Israel along the Transjordanian fault line. Those earthquakes were around the Sea of Galilee, which is, as we know, a crater lake. So this was to be, I suppose, expected. And this is a map of it, as you can see right there. Those dashed lines and the line going up towards the Red Sea at the tip around there, 11, 12 o'clock, you can see that dashed line. That extends into the Jordan River, which is a fault line as well. And let's take a look at the map so you can see what's going on there. This is our area right here. 5 magnitude earthquake today, 10 kilometers depth, that's about 6 miles down, Republic of Congo. And this is the Great Rift Valley. You can see all these lakes here. At one point, Madagascar was part of Africa, and that came off. And this is also, in millions of years, going to slough off. Right here, this is all volcanoes as well, earthquake zones, and this is today's earthquake. And the fault line goes this way into the Red Sea, and this is the Transjordanian fault going up at the east of the Sinai Peninsula, right up here into the Dead Sea, Sea of Galilee, and these are the very not insignificant. These earthquakes in Israel have caught Israel off guard, and they don't know what to do about them, because there are, as we know, a lot of ancient buildings in Israel. And as we said before, the Sea of Galilee is a volcanic lake. So going back to this is the area, as we can see, right here. Please support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box. They don't have that fault line, but it goes this way and it goes this way. And this is the fault line into, as you can see, the Jordan River, all cutting through Red Sea, Dead Sea, and the Sea of Galilee, right there, which is a crater lake. And all of those hot spring baths around there are because of the magma that's under there. So when I made that video on the Israeli earthquakes a few days ago, Saturday and Sunday were those earthquakes, and I did mention the Great Rift Valley, and now we have an earthquake here. Now, going back to the earthquake, the geology of the area. The East African Rift System is a 3,000 kilometer long Cenozoic age continental rift extending from the triple junction between the Horn of Africa and the Middle East. Okay, the Horn of Africa and the Middle East. Okay, right here in the Middle East. So it's huge. Rifting in East Africa is not all coeval. Volcanism and faulting have been an ongoing phenomenon on the continent since 45 million years ago, the Eocene. The rifting began in northern East Africa and led to the separation of Africa and Arabian plates in the Red Sea and the Gulf of Aden, and in the Turkana area of Kenya, Ethiopia border. Ethiopia is here. Okay, so going back, Kenya, Ethiopia, right here. The Paleogene mantle superplume beneath East Africa caused extension with the Nubia plate. There's a superplume under there. You can see all these lakes here, of course. It's a separation of East Africa. And we know that the Nile River, once that separates, is at the end of the Nile River, God forbid, because we have mountains here that cause the rainfall here. Okay, so I don't know. obviously there's going to be a lot of earth changes in the far future. So the super plume under East Africa cause extension, as well as first order topographic high known as the African superswell, which now includes most of the eastern and southern segments of the Nubia Plate. Widespread volcanism erupted onto much of the rising plateau in Ethiopia during 45 to 29 million years ago, Eocene, Oligocene, with chains of volcanoes forming along the rift, separating Africa and Arabia. Since the initiation of rifting in northeastern Africa, the system has propagated over 3,000 kilometers to the southwest, experiencing seismicity as a direct result of the extension, as well as active magmatism. That means, of course, volcanic activity and earthquakes. Today, extension and magmatism are localized in distinct eastern, western, southwestern branches, making the edges of two or more microplates between the subparallel zones of extension in East Africa. The borders of the microplate, known as Victoria and Rovuma, with the Nubia Plate, and to the west, the Somalia Plate, to the east, now represent the most seismically active zones on the continent, where normal faulting earthquakes occur on a monthly basis. Okay, there we go. On a monthly basis, earthquakes. And let's going back to this. Seismicity in East Africa Rift widespread, displaying a distinct pattern, characterized by mainly shallow normal faults, like this one was 6 miles down. Earthquakes rupturing as a direct result of extension of the crust, and volcano-tectonic earthquakes. The majority of events occur in the 10 to 25 kilometer depth range. So as we know, this was 10 kilometer range. Okay, this is one of ours here. The pattern is widespread through the East African Rift zone. The relation between depth of earthquake and deformation of the continental lithosphere and magmatic processes in many segments of the rift. Now, let's go to the eastern branch. Discontinuous system of rifts, most of which have experienced magmatism since their onset from north to south. These are the Ethiopian Rift, Kenya, northern Tanzania, okay, Ethiopia, Kenya, Tanzania, right here, going this way, into Malawi, Zimbabwe, which was old Rhodesia. The Kenya Rift experienced major 6.9 earthquake in 1928, but has witnessed only a small magnitude swarm since then, as the Afar and Ethiopian rift segments where magma supply appears to be abundant. Dike intrusions here accommodate extensional strain at lower stress levels than are required to cause slip along large fault systems bounding the rift, generally resulting in relatively smaller earthquakes. Seismicity near the northern Tanzania divergence marked with diffuse, volcanically active Victoria-Somalia plate boundary. Okay. Where's Somalia here? Okay. I'm blind. I need more coffee. Okay, Kenya, Tanzania. Where's Somalia? Anyway. Okay. Anyway, this is I hope what I'm thinking of is I hope this is just the end of the seismic activity there, because you know from what geologists have told us, earthquakes beget more earthquakes. And is this a foreshock or is this the main shock? We don't know. This is a very active rift zone with the mantle plume underneath. So, seismicity near the northern Tanzania divergence marks the diffuse volcanically active Victoria-Somalia plate. Okay, Tanzania. That's a plate there. So, oh, there's Somalia. Okay, there we go. We found it. Yeah, the Somalian pirates. Right. Okay, now I remember. I don't know much about African geography. So, consistent with the widespread magmatism, the mantle plume here, in this rift sector, earthquake magnitudes are generally less than magnitude 6. This one was a 5. The result from normal faulting. The Davy Ridge marks the Rovuma Somalia plate boundary in the oceanic lithosphere and the western Indian Ocean basin. On May 14, 1985, 2 magnitude 6 and 6.3 earthquakes struck this area, less than 100 kilometers off the coast of northern Mozambique. This is according to USGS. So, is this the end of the earthquakes, or is this just a foreshock? We don't know. We'll have to see. Okay, all of you around this area, I don't know how many, but around especially here, this is, it seems like it's becoming active again. Please leave your comments, and thank you for your support.